Welcome, listeners, to Quickfire Questions with Fairfax and Favour, where we will be putting some quickfire questions, as the name might suggest, to some of the best riders in the business. And today's guest is the Blenheim long format 4-star winner, none other than Yasmin Ingham. Yas, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Would you rather be invisible or be able to time travel for a day?
Definitely time travel to go back and relive all of those amazing moments that I've had in the past.
What is your go-to Fairfax and Favour boot?
I think the boot that I pull out to wear the most from Fairfax and Favour would have to be the tan Rockingham ankle boot. They're just so comfortable, and again, they're just so to pair with outfits.
What is your favourite colour?
Favourite colour is blue for sure.
Yas, thank you so much. We have loved you answering our quickfire questions with Fairfax and Favour.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome to the Act Ratings Eventing podcast and another Grassroots show. And listeners, our guests today are really, really special because we heard from them earlier on in the year. I think it was about March time, but we're going back and having a mid-season catch-up with our riders to follow on the Grassroots show. I can't wait to do this because I know seasons have been very different for lots of people across the world. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what people have been up to and how their season has been going so far and what might be in store later on this year. Our first rider that we're going to chat with is our lovely rider from Ireland, Rowlena Callaghan. Thank you for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me, Rosie. Great to be back.
Now, you have had a spectacular start to 2023, and I was looking through, on the Stat Center and Googling what you have done so far. And honestly, you're at the top of all of our stats. You've had the most wins at grassroots level in Eventing Ireland, and you're even topping the Equiloon Power Average League, and you have the second lowest finishing score this year at grassroots level. So, it's been really, really impressive. You've had 4 wins and a second so far this season. Just talk us through what it's been like.
It's been wonderful. Yeah, I really feel we've cemented the partnership. Splendid B and I, we're really in tune with each other at the moment. He's in great form. Jane has him looking, that's Jane O'Flynn, which is where I keep him, has him looking in spectacular condition. And he's just loving life. He's loving being at the 100 level. He's really comfortable at it. We've had a great start. We did a few show jumping and dressage clinics at the beginning of the season, and I really feel that they've stood to me. Just sort of getting those extra tips in the dressage has really helped. Changing some things about how I ride in the show jumping has been really important as well. I've a really terrible habit of keep putting my hands up and my feet forward. So trying to correct that. And he is happier with my riding as well. He's always been great cross country. It's really the dressage and the show jumping where we really had to put in the extra work. And I feel, I came at it early this season. I brought him in early. I got him going early and really sort of did those clinics in the early spring, and as I say, I feel they've really stood to me. And he's been great. We've had a really fun time. He's actually on a little break at the moment now, just because I sort of went bang 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 with a few of them there. I always knew June was going to be a bit of a quieter month for me because we're going on holiday with the kids and stuff. So I packed everything into early in the season. He'll have a little break. He's on a little break now. And I'm hoping to go to Grove at the end of June. That's when he'll be hopefully back again, all being well.
Well, it has been an amazing, amazing start to 2023 for you. And when we talk about your Power Average League, listeners, you can go onto the Eventing Ireland Stat Centre and see all the leagues on there. You're the top of that because it's the best 3 scores, and then we create an average from it. And just to give you a bit of context, listeners, we are talking about scores of an 18.5, a 20.9, and a 23.8. So your power average is 21.1. Do you think those clinics have been the key to your consistency? Because you're right, you have improved massively this year from where you were last year.
Yeah, it's the clinics, and also it really is Jane O'Flynn as well. She's She's tough. She's tough on me, and it's brilliant. I love it. She has really exacting standards, and it's really helped me in the dressage. She's made me so much more accurate. Yeah, the clinics were great to sort of, do little top-ups at the beginning of the spring and sort of focus the mind almost as well. Sometimes at the beginning of the spring, it's hard to have an aim. It's hard to know exactly where you're going with the season. And the clinics give you something to work towards week to week. You go to a clinic, they point something out to you, you go home and you work on it. And I can work on that with Jane. It's been a great improvement. And really it's been down to definitely doing the clinics and also Jane's exacting standards. Yeah. If you do a 19-meter circle when it should be a 20-meter circle, she'll pull you up on that.
But it's one of those things that we easily let slip or forget is our accuracy, and how many marks we can gain from it is phenomenal.
Yeah, the accuracy is so important. I feel especially at the 100 level, they really are looking for you to be really accurate. And also I slightly had to change my mindset a little bit. If the beginning of the test wasn't going well for me, I had a tendency to slightly give up on the whole test. And I've really been working on fighting for every score. If I've gone down the center line and I know it hasn't been dead straight, okay, forget about that and work, fight for your next points. While before, I would have given up is the wrong word, but I would have, slightly gone, oh, this test is awful. Oh, it's terrible. Just let's move on to the show jumping. Well, now I think I've become better at fighting for every single mark. And really, yeah, as you say, the accuracy is key. And that's just doing those tests at home, just going over and over them at home and really figuring out exactly where you should be at the arena and where you should be asking for the aids for the upcoming movement.
I like that. So instead of moving on to the show jumping, you're just moving on to your next movement in the dressage test.
Exactly. Yeah.
And on dressage, actually, like I said, you have the second lowest finishing score this year at grassroots level because you finished on an 18.5 at Kilgilkie. Talk us through that test, because 18.5 is quite a phenomenal test.
Yeah, no, it was, and it felt good as well. When you're riding in that test and you when it feels nice. And yeah, it just went smoothly. I was actually on quite late, one of the last dressage to go down, and I just felt that it just all fell into place. I was there in loads of time. I had a really nice warm up with him, and I just had it spot on going in. And it's one of those things, dressage, if a big lorry had driven past, the whole thing could have been a nightmare. I always feel the dressage can go one way or another very, very quickly. And everything fell into place. And as I say, when I was riding it felt a nice test. You always come out and say, oh, my halt wasn't square, and I didn't do that right, and I didn't do that correctly. But I felt as if I didn't feel it was an 18.5, I would say, but it did feel a nice test.
It is a great feeling when you can come out and actually go, that felt nice, because sometimes it feels worse than it actually looks. So that's a lovely feeling.
It is. And you come out and you say, that feeling of it went as well as it can go. There was no sort of hard feeling, there was no, he got a fright at, this or that, or something happened. When you come out and you say it went as well as it could go. And
actually, you haven't just obviously had Splendid B to work with this season. You mentioned on the last time you were on the show that you had your ex-racehorse coming through, Dante's Pass. How's he been getting on?
Oh, he's just wonderful. I've fallen in love with him. I really have. So yeah, he's been hard at work, that boy. Susie in the yard at Jane's, Susie Shackleton, has been absolutely brilliant with him. I've kind of found out the hard way that it's difficult having two horses. Yeah, I think, as I say, my eyes were bigger than my belly at that one, So I have to give all credit to Jane and Susie. They did loads of work with him. They've done lots of unaffiliated things with him. He had his first affiliated day out last week in Rosanna, and he did really well. He had a little blip cross country, but I was delighted with him. And he's just a lovely horse. I actually brought him down on Sunday. There was a local show about an hour away, and I brought the children down to do the lead rein. I brought him down to do the racehorse to riding horse class, and we were third. So I was so pleased. Yeah, he was wonderful, because it was my first day out with him. You know, it was my first time actually me doing a competition with him. As I say, Susie's been doing a wonderful job doing the unaffiliated, and then Rosanna the other week. And I was just so pleased to bring him and have a lovely day. He gave me I've never done a showing class before. I am not a showing person. So it was slightly the blind leading the blind, but he just gave me a wonderful feel. I felt really relaxed on him. I felt really confident on him. So yeah, I'm looking forward to taking over the ride from Susie. We'll be fighting over him because he's such a sweetheart. He's the kindest horse. And he really gives all he can. So he really is a sweetheart. So I'm so excited by him, and really excited to get my teeth sunk into him. At the moment, what I'm doing is getting a lesson from Jane on him once or twice a week. Just as I explained before, Splendid Bee is like, he's only 15 hands or 15, maybe 15-1. I think probably more 15 hands. And this guy is 16-3. So it just really, it took me a while to get used to that. But I feel really comfortable on him now. And that was really cemented at the weekend at our showing class. So hopefully I can move up the grades and start to event him by the end of the season. I'd love if we could qualify for something like, the national championships or something. It might be a bit of a big ask for him, but we'll see. He's actually going to Clonmahon on Saturday. I'll be heading off on my holidays to France. So Susie and Dante are heading to Clonmahon on Saturday.
I love that it's all going so well, because he does sound like such an exciting horse for you. And to be third at your first showing class is amazing.
Yeah. I don't know how we did it, but
I'm really chuffed that it's going well, and that it's nice to hear that you're taking your time with him, just getting to know him and making it work for both of you, which is great to hear. What does the rest of the season look like for you? Do you have any particular goals or anything that you want to tick off the list?
I'd love to try and win the amateur league. So I need to try and stay on top of that. Not let anybody sneak up behind me. And I would love I'm really excited about a few things coming up. There's the new international at Lisgarvan, which is really local to us. It's, half an hour down the road. And the team in Lisgarvan are wonderful. Jane Davis has been working there along with the Corrigan family. And I'm really excited about that. It's a new international and it's close. So I'd hopefully go there with Splendid Bee. Then Nakarn is the venue for the national championships this year, and I've never been to Nakarn, so I'm really excited about that. So I would be aiming for there with Splendid Bee, and maybe with Dante's Pass. It might be too much of a big aim, but you got to have these big aims sometimes, don't you?
Exactly.
Aim big sometimes, but it might be too much to ask of him. But they're two things that I'm really excited about.
It looks like a really, really fun and exciting second half of the season for you. I hope it continues to go as well as this first half has gone for you. And best of luck.
Thank you so very much. Thanks for having me on.
No trouble at all. I also hope you have a lovely holiday in France. I'm very jealous.
Thank you.
So I'm now joined by our rider that we've been following from the US. Thank you so much for coming back on the show, Alice Chan.
Oh, of course. It's great to be here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you back, because I know at the start you said you had some big goals set out. Have you hit your training goal? I know you really, really wanted to move up to training, but it was going to be a bit of an ask because your lovely little mare is quite small and training would be quite an ask. Have you managed to move up to training?
We did it, and, best laid plan. So we did the move up at Twin Rivers in April. And it was a very nice, straightforward training level course on cross country. And show jump, it seemed a bit daunting, but honestly, she flew. And to be honest, I didn't think I would say this, but that was kind of the highlight of the show, was just the way she flew around that show jump. I was really lucky. I was at a clinic with Tammy Smith the week before. So she got us all kind of like geared up and excited, and she loved my mare. So that was really exciting. She said she was like a miniature Grand Prix horse, which I was like, I'll take that from Tammy Smith,
Definitely.
So yeah, we had no jump faults all weekend, which was, pretty amazing. We had some time on cross country, like a few seconds, because I didn't want to I wasn't pushing for time, I just wanted to play it safe and get around and make sure that we could answer all the questions. So we did that. So it was a really, really fun weekend. I think we ended up in the top 10. We didn't get a ribbon, but who cares? I was really proud of her and really proud of what we did. And even our dressage was not that bad. I think we got a 34 something. So yeah, I was really happy with that. And then as life happens, I ended up, just before then, I just started a new job and I had to travel a lot. So I've been in and out of New York 6 times in less than 3 months. And of course, that put a bit of a dent in my riding. And her and I have this really phenomenal partnership. And she turns 9 on Saturday, actually. And I've had her since she was 3. So, mostly we're really in sync. And I don't know if it was that, if it was the spring grass, if it was her stablemate being gone for a while, who knows, or if she had eaten something, but in the last 3 or 4 weeks, she just didn't feel herself under saddle. She's a mare. I wouldn't say she's 100% willing all the time, but I can tell when something's off. And, the jumping just became not her favorite thing to do, which has always been her favorite thing to do. She seemed to not want to leave the ground as much. We had a fall at a schooling round, which was not very fun. Nobody likes that. And I think the horses don't like it either, So she just kind of stood there. She's not one that runs off after her. She just stands there and looks at me and says, "What are you doing down there?" But, all those things end up kind of, affecting confidence, and you start doubting, can you do it? And we did go to a show it wasn't last week, 2 weeks ago, to Woodside. And I did a prep session with my trainer. I was like, "Do you think we can make it happen?" She's like, "I think you can make it happen, but you're going to really have to leg on." And just going into the weekend, I have to say, like, it just didn't feel right. And I think I learned a big lesson about listening to my gut more, and because I was like attributing it to maybe some factors outside of riding. And I was like meditating a lot. I was like, I can, calm myself down through this. Our dressage test was really not good. The warm-up was fine till halfway through. She just really didn't want to kind of do transitions and collect. She wasn't off. I actually think she has ulcers. So that's what we're treating. We went into show jump. Show jump was out of order. So it was the second day. We always have to do things over 3 days. We ended up getting eliminated, which was, I wasn't disappointed to get eliminated. I mean, of course, I don't, it's not like I want to be eliminated, but on some level, I just not been feeling it. So it was almost a relief that I was like, I don't have to go cross country. And I've never felt like that before, So it's been an interesting experience. So we're in reset mode at the moment. I'm sure we will get back there. I mean, I've checked off all the usual. She's no saddle fit issues. She's not, she's not lame. Like I said, we're treating for ulcers, and she already seems a little happier. So yeah, we're kind of like going to kind of rethink what the next couple of months look like. Everybody's getting ready to go to Rebecca Farm, and I had that in my sights for sure. I'm certainly not going to go all that way, not knowing kind of, how we'll come out of the gate. Yeah, so we're going to be taking things back a notch, just rebuilding confidence, feeling good about getting to the jumps. And she's actually going pretty well on the flat. And I did a really fun clinic at the weekend with a gentleman called Dave Hillman, who's quite well known in the US for natural horsemanship and partnership and, being able to read horses' cues. And so that's been a really good additional set of tools to look at partnership. Are we tuned in? Are we present to each other? Even when you're saddling up, right? Are they dancing around? Are they not really with you? And also as a result, he taught me how to pony. My other horse is in rehab. And so now I take them both out together and it's been really fun. So I think that's fun for them both as well. So we're just changing it up a little bit and we'll certainly be back out there soon enough. We may go run a novice in the summer. And then, we'll take it one step at a time.
I love that it went so well for you at your first training.
I do too.
It's typical horses that, you're high and then you're low.
Yeah.
And it's all over the show. But actually, one of the things that I've really picked up from talking to you is how you love to learn. You always say that you're at different clinics with different people and that you love to learn. And I think that that's so important because we think we know our horses, but you never know what's coming your way, do you?
No. I mean, everyone just goes, horses, right? And shrugs their shoulders. It's like you can have a plan and it's good to have one, but they really teach you got to live in the moment. And, in the very moment of like when you're handling them, of course, otherwise bad things can happen. But also just in the moment of like, we had that show and it was amazing. And I will always have that amazing memory. And, hopefully we'll have it again, but it didn't happen last time and that's okay, And I think, also the moment of just listening to your gut, I mean, that was a good lesson for me in terms, even just learning on my own, right? That my intuition was not off and, it's worth tuning into that more in the future. And on the note of clinics, we have one coming up with Boyd Martin in about 5 weeks. So hopefully we'll be, back gangbusters by then because we did a clinic with him last year. It's super fun. And I think we have a clinic with Tammy again in August, who, just this phenomenal clinician, of course. Of course, she's like our heroine now, or for the West Coast, for women riders. I mean, that's just been so exciting for us in California this year. And for grandmothers. Not that I'm one of those yet, thankfully.
No, you always have clinics with the best people, I must say. You mentioned the names. I'm like, I need to go to the US and have a horse because it's incredible. It is so incredible. Come and watch them. I mean, honestly, I go and watch quite a few of them too. If I feel like it's not one for me to go compete in or I can't, they're really, really interesting to watch, So, And always learn. It's like you have to learn, take what you like and leave the rest. Like you don't have to learn everything that they have to say. You don't have to deploy it all. But I usually leave with usually a bit more confidence because I think you just get pushed a bit more and your regular trainer knows your boundaries. And so inevitably, you all end up living a bit in those, not in a bad way, but, so it's always been really interesting to do these things. So. Yeah. And actually, you've really, really improved your dressage this year, which I know is something you really wanted to do because you had your lowest ever dressage score at affiliated level when you did your novice at Twin Rivers at the start of the year, 31.4.
That was my best. Yeah.
What do you think's been the key to dropping those scores a little bit?
And then I had a not so great score the other week, but dressage is just really hard. I will say we've been doing things like I had a feet x-rayed and it turned out she had negative, I think it's plantar angles are in the back. And so we've been slowly addressing those, putting pads on the front and, some of those things. I mean, some of those learnings are just so fascinating to me. Like, I didn't even know you could do this, but we work with a vet who kind of mocked up putting pads on by just binding some pads on with vet wrap and having me be under saddle, and like the feeling and how it changes and how they more want to take the contact and more can come through by rebalancing their feet was really, I mean, sounds obvious once you know, but it's like was really eye-opening. So I partially think that's helped. I mean, we've worked on it a lot. I've been super lucky that where I train, Tommy Greengard is the assistant trainer, and obviously he's like a phenomenal talent on the West Coast, and he gets on her and he's been riding her for me. It's when I've been traveling. So she's also had a pro, like, you know, show her what's what. And I think she's just started to realize what she's capable of, you know. So we do have our moments now where I'm like, oh, this is, yeah, we're in the sweet spot. It feels really good. Now, of course, you move to training and you've got to do lengthened canter and then collect, and then you've got to do lengthened trot. So the scores might reflect the harder movements. But, you know, like I said, we got a 34 something for our first training level test, and I was really happy with that. So, you know, but it so much depends on which judge do you get. Like, what did they eat for breakfast? What did the horses eat for breakfast? I mean, I've had to always remind myself it's not a dressage show, you know.
Yeah, have you given him a bottle of wine as you trot on by? You know, can I have a 10, please?
Yeah, I know. Well, and then it's always funny when you see a friend scribing. You're like, oh, hi. And you're like, oh, wait. But afterwards you can ask them what they said, because you mostly can't read the handwriting. I'm like, why now? Can we not do this on laptops, really? I'm sure there's some valuable insights here that I'm missing because I literally can't read the... you know, it's like the doctor's handwriting. Like, what
I was just going to say that when they write paracetamol, you just don't even know what they write.
Totally. Yeah. So, you know, we've worked hard on a lot of things actually. And like, you know, and maybe that's part of it. It's like, we actually need to take a breather for a second and just take it all in. And I'm okay. You know, I'm not in a hurry on anything. Like I said, she's only about to turn 9. We're not, you know, I'm not trying to beat a clock here. I'm probably more my own clock than hers. But yeah, so it's all good. And it's finally stopped raining about 6-7 weeks ago. So now we've been able to get out and do a bit more. So
obviously you've had a bit of a roller coaster to the start of your year, and we really, really hope that she comes back better than ever.
Yeah.
Hopefully it all goes that way. But what would be some of your goals in the latter part of the year if she comes back well?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I, you know, definitely would like to go out and do training again. But mostly, I mean, my main goal is for us to get back in sync and to have her feeling like she was feeling at the beginning of the season, where she's like, you know, I'm taking you to the jump, you know. I mean, I will say in between, especially in show jump, in you know, it's a lot of leg on. She's not necessarily like, you know, up in the bridle and dying, but you know, she dying to get there. But when she's there, she always wants to jump. I mean, that's always been our thing. So, you know, that's the work that we're doing, and you know, just feeling more confident. And you know, me, I don't need to like overmanage every stride, but in show jump at that height, we have to be a little bit more consistent and precise about where we're going to be, so she doesn't feel like she has to say no. And anyway, so yeah, so I don't have any big ambitions for the rest of this year. I mean, you know, it's like one of those things, like the path comes up to meet you, and then then you decide which direction, you know, is going to feel good. So I'm debating right now whether to go, like I said, in a few weeks, there's a show down in Paso Robles again, and whether I'll go run novice. But I'm always like, well, I'll do one more jump session and then I'll decide. But yeah, I mean, just to enjoy it. I'm actually going to go on vacation without horses, so that's a goal. You know, I mean, because I realize like all my vacation time and so many of us amateurs, it's exactly the same, right? I think professionals don't even take vacations, but it's, you know, you're like, actually, I think I need to just take a minute.
Just reset you and the horse as well. Like,
yeah. Together and apart, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think everything's good. You know, she's healthy and I am, and we'll be back at it like really soon, you know.
Well, thank you so much for being so open and honest and sharing your story, because it's nice to hear that, not obviously nice that you've had a
Right.
bit of a roller coaster, but
Yeah.
nice to hear that other people are going through things that we might be experiencing and thinking, well, we're not alone in this.
Right, that's right. And I think, people talk about this a lot, right? But in the social media world where we feel like we only can post or share the perfect things, that's not really, that's not life. Life isn't perfect. I was listening to something yesterday and they were saying something like, people aren't going to get to know you if you don't let your guard down. And so you just, if it's helpful, I'm happy to share it. So anyway, it's great talking to you and I appreciate you checking in, and hopefully next time we'll have some different news to report.
Oh, thank you so much, Alice. It's been a lovely chat, and we wish you and Merriwell Quintessa a successful end of the season, and hopefully she comes back well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So my final guest is our rider that we have been following from Great Britain. Welcome to the show again, Josh Stewardson.
Hi, Rosie. Thanks for having me. Good to be back. It feels not that long ago since we spoke, so...
Yeah, I know. So we spoke probably end of Feb, but time has flown between now and February, and an awful lot has gone on in the world. Actually, probably not a lot has gone on in the UK in the eventing world because of the rain. But before we get stuck into your season, I know that you were at Bramham last week. Tell us a little bit more about why you were at Bramham and what you were up to there.
Yes, so last year, so 2022, for the first time ever, I went to volunteer in the organiser's office at Bramham, and I had the best week ever. Anyway, and then this year they asked me back, but they asked me to go back so I could do a slightly broader role where I helped in the media team. I did some socials for the event. I do a segment on my own Instagram called Hot to Trot, where I just vlog the each rider's trot up outfit, and Bramham asked me if I would do that on theirs. So that was exciting. And then apart from that, it's just helping with anything that needs doing. So at one point I was doing all the socials, and then they said, oh, someone needs a crossing steward. So I ran out and I did that for 15 minutes. And then the office has you back because you need to run. I had a drone man to take around in a buggy. So really broad role, but it's really fabulous to do, and something so fresh and different from, because I work on the yard with the horses most of the time at the moment. So nice to interact with all sorts of different people.
And it's probably so nice to be behind the scenes on such a big event like Bramham and see what goes on, because when you go there, even as a spectator or as a competitor, there's loads of things that happen you just don't even know go on, do you?
No. So, and obviously Bramham I'm in the north, and Bramham is our big event in the north. It's our badminton or something like that. So everyone you know's there, and yeah, just being behind the scenes. And as well, what's nice is the riders get to know you because they see you every day, and so many people behind the scenes. So it's great.
So big question is, who won your Hot to Trot? Was that what it was called? Your trot up outfit?
Who won my Hot to Trot? I really liked Bobby Upton. She wore a really beautiful, like berry red suit, which I was a bit Chanel inspired, but I think it was from me and M. So she, in my opinion, won. But I think Rose Nesbitt won the Hi-Ho Silver Award. So
Bubby is always very stylish when I see her at the events. I always think she looks really good.
And she does show quite a nice bit of her personality, I think, within her style. So she's not, because we do get a lot of all the lovely country stuff, but Bubby shows us a little bit of her street style, which I think is always nice.
Yeah, I agree. She looks really good. Now, on to your season so far. Like we say, we spoke at the end of Feb, and you were going to hopefully go out and start eventing. But in the UK, we've had very wet spring. It's probably an understatement. How has the start of the season been for you?
So it started off really well from when we last chatted. I'd been out show jumping, had some good show jumping rounds. I thought, okay, right, we're going to get going. I'd had a really good lesson with my dressage instructor. And then about 4 or 5 days, I hadn't been able to canter or really cross-country school before my first event at Breckenborough. And I felt a lot of pressure. Just thought, I'll just go give him a steady canter on a bit of ground that I know is all right. And he pulled his shoe off, and he hadn't just pulled it off, he'd like ripped it off and most of the hoof with it, and then I had to hack home from there. So I walked him back, I got off most of the way, and I was thinking the whole time, oh god. So then I had a complete overreaction, and the farrier said, oh, if I could force this shoe on, but really it needs a week with no shoe on and lots of poulticing to bring the bruising out. So that's what we should do. So obviously that's what we did, but it was disappointing to miss that first event. And then it was non-stop rain, wasn't it? So that was that. But after the shoe I had a complete meltdown and rang the vets out of hours and everything. But then within a few days, I was like, oh, it's actually not that bad. He was lame for one day and then sound the rest. So I thought, oh, a week or two off and he's going to be fine. And he was fine. And I went to a couple of our local riding club things and just had to wait for it all to dry up, really.
I think a lot of people would have done the same as you had a bit of a meltdown, because we prepare so long and hard for our events. And then something like pulling the shoe off and then half the foot coming with it is something that's really disappointing and irritating for you. And then we have to realize, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world, but it can feel like the end of the world at that point.
Oh, yeah, it did. But then I very quickly thought, oh well, get over yourself, Joss. So I rang, because I think sometimes with eventing you can forget, especially if a lot of your friends are horsey, that really 1B90 it's fine, it's okay. So I rang some non-horsey friends and we went, it was Easter weekend, so we had a real big blowout and drank the sorrows away.
That's how you got to deal with it. Very good.
Yeah, it was.
So did you manage to get to any affiliated events this year, or have you been mainly focusing on unaffiliated because of the weather?
So I did a few little bits of combined training and a hunt, really randomly, Cumbria, where I live, which is normally so wet, wasn't hit as hard as the rest of the country. So the week badminton was on and we were all up to our ankles in mud, Cumbria had a really nice week. So that meant that our local event, Frenchfield, could run really well and on perfect ground with just the perfect bit of cuts. So Buddy went there, did a much improved dressage test. I was 30, which was great for me because I was averaging last season at about 37, which wasn't ideal, but we've worked really hard over the winter. Show jumped really well. Buddy isn't the most careful horse in the world, but has such a big heart. So I had one down, but really, really pleased. And then I think just because we were rusty, Buddy's a really fast, quick cross-country horse. So I set off out in a really nice rhythm, jump fence one. And then, but like I said, because we'd had it quite hard, they'd put some sand down. And obviously the horses hadn't really seen anything like that and hadn't really been able to cross-country school. And at the second fence, he spooked at the sand, one stride out, and then next thing you knew, I was at the bottom of the fence. They obviously the fates decided I needed humbling that day. So I came around, jumped it again, and it was fine. I thought, I won't look at my watch. I've had to circle. I'll be miles over. And then when I came to the second to last fence, I looked at my watch and I had a full 30 seconds to get home. Well, no, I thought 30 seconds a minute, because I think your 30 seconds is your window, isn't it? So I thought, oh God. So I actually came home about 20 seconds inside time and had 2 fast time faults because he's just such a cruiser. I wasn't even paying attention. So,
well, it's great to hear that dressage has got down, because I know that was a big goal for you. And your show jumping, just to have one down is fantastic. So,
yeah, I was really pleased.
Your cross country, like you say, is like just going out for your first event of the season. The horses haven't seen anything for such a long period of time because of the wet weather that it was probably really fresh for them. So you should be really chuffed with that as your first one.
Yeah, I am pleased. And then also, we managed to go to our local area horse trials for the Riding Club Championships, where we had a good run where we were clear cross country, and so did all our team, and we qualified for the ones at Swalcliffe, the Riding Club Championships, which are long formats. So I am really looking forward to going to that. Yeah, our local riding clubs are really fabulous riding club, lakes riding clubs. So we all got together, so it was nice to go down there.
Have you ever been to Swalcliffe before or not?
I've never been to Swalcliffe before. I did listen to the podcast you did with Gemma and her groom. So, because I've never done roads and tracks or anything like that. So it's going to be a good experience. All very new.
It's new, but it's a blast. I've been there a couple times doing it, and it's the most fun I've ever had doing a long format event. It was brilliant fun. Well,
that's what everybody said. So they've all said to me that Buddy, Got It, I Do It, my horse, is the ideal type for it because he's quite blood. So fingers crossed.
If you're flying around cross-country courses 30 seconds over the time, your roads and tracks and stuff, he'll probably come in fine for the time then for the cross-country after he's been around all of that.
Yeah, we'll see. So I definitely need to have, I'm not a very numbersy person, so I think I definitely need to go and have some speed training with a BE accredited coach or something, just to really understand minute markers, wheeling and stuff like that. And also I count down, and but I'm wondering maybe if I should be counting up, if maybe I'd understand it a bit better. So that's on my list, my long list of things to get some training for.
I also used to cut up a cereal box and write all my minute markers and things on my wrist and strap it to my wrist so that at least I knew where I was at what time, because not a chance was I going to remember all of that.
No, I think that's part of my problem. So yeah, somebody else said that. We had a team meeting last night at the local pub, and they said that they're going to do us all, some of the mums and the helpers are going to do us all a cereal box each, like you said, so that'd be good.
So not only have you been out with your lovely horse Buddy eventing, but you have also had an ex-racehorse coming back into work, haven't you, Remy? What's been going on with him?
Yes, so Remy, I'd always been interested in doing an ex-racer from the beginning, from coming straight out of training. And I just thought, maybe I will. So I mentioned it to a couple of trainers, and eventually I saw this horse come up on Facebook and I commented on him. I thought, that looks like a lovely big type. That would suit me because I'm 6'3". So obviously thoroughbreds, especially flat horses, don't come up that big, do they? So I saw it, I commented on it, and then forgot about it. And 2 weeks later, Kevin Frost got in touch with me and said, we think you would be the right person. So I went down to see him, and he's a lovely big horse, and he had last raced in November, and I picked him up in December. So very new, completely different for him. So I've been ticking away with him over the winter. He's really sweet, nice moving horse. Still learning about jumping. We'll see if he picks it up. He gets better very, very slowly. And so he's gone to one dressage show, again at our local riding club, and one little ROR showing class.
Amazing. Has he coped with all the atmosphere and the change of job quite well?
Remy, although he was successful and he has won on the flat, doesn't really like going anywhere that fast, and is a very, very relaxed person to have. He's busted for me that myth of the ex-racer myth. I think he's only done, to say this for an ex-racer that's just come out of training, he was so fit. He's done one thing that caught me by surprise when he jumped from the top of the lorry ramp to the bottom, and took himself for a lap around the show field. But considering that's his one thing he's ever done, he's really fabulous, actually. I think he'll be quite special, even if he maybe doesn't event out, because the Frosts and the owners were really nice. They've gifted him to me, so he doesn't have anything to sort of prove, he will tell us what he wants to do. So quite interesting to think when the door opens, where he shows us where he wants us to go, we'll take him through it. So we'll find out.
Just the one thing of jumping off the ramp is very good going. Very, very good going. You can forgive him for that.
and I've had some real shockers with young horses before that should be a lot more behaved, you'd have thought. But so he's definitely busted a couple of myths about ex-racers for me.
So what would be your goals for the rest of the season, or any plans with your two boys?
So Buddy wouldn't be one to really enjoy this. It's so mad, isn't it, with all the wet weather we had, and now we're in a drought. Buddy wouldn't enjoy hard going. So I've got an event this weekend at Warwick Hall. Then I've got the calendar has fallen a little bit weird for me this year in the north. So then I've got quite a big gap, and then I've got 2 more events in July, and then I'm going to aim to take him, obviously, to go to the Riding Club Champs. So that's going to be his thing. Where I run him, how I run him, I don't know. Maybe I need to focus on going on show jumping on a surface, but definitely I've entered 3 events local to me. So Warwick Hall 2 and Richmond, and then the Warwick Hall 1 this weekend. So we'll see. And then Remy, it doesn't really matter what he does this year, as long as he keeps going out, keeps behaving, and slowly, because he's not very consistent in his flat work yet. So keep going to training, keep going to clinics, stuff like that. I'd love to. I think Buddy and I could do. I think if we go to the Riding Club Champs, do another event at the end of August. I'd like him to maybe do a 100 at the end of the year. Amazing.
Best of luck, Joss.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Rosie. And like I said, it's always fabulous to be on this show. I'm a big eventing geek and big fan of you all at Equiratings. So
Oh, thank you. We love coming on here and chatting to you and seeing how you get on. And best of luck over the summer event, especially at the Riding Club Champs, and hopefully tick off that 100 goal that you've got. But we'll wait and see, because we'll be back.
Everyone say a prayer.
We'll be back and having a little catch up later on in the year. So we'll see how you've got on with all of that. But thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Rosie.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed having a catch up with our 3 riders that we are following this year on the Grassroots show. Like I say, we'll be catching up with them again at the back end of the year. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for when that show comes out. But that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back soon with more.
Hey, I'm Sarah Watley and I'm head girl for Alice Brown. My favourite Cars AMR product is medicated shampoo. We use it every day after horses are worked. Helps get all the grease and grime out of the coat and any little scabs.